Yeah.
So as long as you look for guarantees from circumstances, from people, from outside, there's going to be fear. You have to have that belief that, whatever, it may not turn up, but what if a startup fails? You learn something and then you move forward into another one. That experience is what you have gained. So I feel whenever people are fearful, it's more because they want guarantees. And then there are lives that are no guarantees.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see you all. And today we are here. We've come back as we do every Wednesday.
Hi, Ranjit. Yeah, I can see Ranjit.
And we're gonna oh, you were in the same cohort.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, nice. So we're talking about cultivating courage through coaching today. And the topics of these webinars are not something that like someone will think about the topic, Kochari will think about a topic, then they'll seek out people. I think it's more like we talk to people and then we try to figure out what will they bring to the table and what will they share with us in essence that will benefit all of you and benefit us from these conversations. And when I spoke to Shyamala, really the recurring theme was courage and cultivating courage, especially to make difficult choices in life. And, it's entirely possible, that all of you are also at some or the other crossroads in your life. There's something that's going on for you and you're trying to figure out a way to move forward in that. There's an area in which you're trying to grow. And, I think we all have this understanding that if we want to grow somewhere, we have to make slightly different choices in our day to day, or in our week to week, year to year, month to month. We have to make slightly different choices. And sometimes the reason we don't make those choices is out of fear or out of various reasons, whatever the reasons may be. And I think sometimes we need a little bit of extra dosage of courage to do that. And my conversation with Shyamala, the short conversation I had with her, like it just seemed like the recurring theme was making choices and having courage to make those choices. Shyamala, I would love for you to just share with us a little bit about your background and just, talk to us about your history with coaching, how you came to know about coaching, and what was life like before coaching.
Thanks, Neha. Thanks for that introduction. So let me share that coaching is new to me. I mean, in the form that I have learned at Kocharya, that's new to me. But I think in other forms, it has always been there throughout my life, I guess. To give my background, I'm an MBA Finance and HR, and I started my career with the banking industry. Then I moved into the regulatory body. I have worked in NBFCs. I worked in the insurance sector. So primarily 25 years of experience in the financial services sector, and mostly managing people, managing teams. And my last assignment was with National Institute of Securities Market as Senior Vice President. And this was in 2013, when I decided to call off my job at the peak of my career. So you mentioned about decisions, about, whenever we come across crossroads. So I have taken a lot of decisions in my life. And at every point when I take decision, be it professionally, be it personally, yeah, it requires a lot of courage. Because any transition that you do, it requires you to let go of some part of what you are doing and then to move into an unknown area. And that's an area where it requires a lot of courage. So I was telling Neha, I never had the privilege of being coached by somebody at that critical junctures of my life. Professionally, I've moved across 4 or 5 organizations. Personally, yeah, I'm the mother of 2. I mean, now grown up kids. But when I came to Bombay with my first job, obviously after marriage, and I was living all alone, managing 2 kids. and a full-time job, and also to share that I was competing. I mean, I was in that mode where I was ambitious. I wanted to go to the top. So competing with men, competing with everybody. So it was a tough life, but I enjoyed it. I kept going up the ladder, but there were challenges. There were challenges balancing, taking care of two children, their needs, being there for them, at the same time being at organizations, competing with people to go up the ladder, giving my best, because I was always driven by giving my best. So those were the moments where, when I look back, I feel if I had some coaching, maybe it would have helped. But as I said, I didn't know coaching in this way, but I guess my best coaching came from books. I used to read a lot of books. So every time I would reach a crossroad where I had to make decisions, I think what would help me is some book in some form of life. Uh, and some of the books that have really helped me is a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, uh, another book called Think and Grow Rich. This was one of my favorite books by Napoleon Hill. And I used to read it a lot. So the fact that you focus on your mindset and things will happen, those are some of the things I was already doing it. But somewhere around 2013, when my children were at a teenager stage, I decided to call off my career. That was one of the biggest decision I have taken. And people kept asking why at this juncture, when you have crossed a lot of the tough ones, and now you are nearly there, the next promotion could lead you into a director or something. And people kept asking why, and I kept asking why not. That was the biggest thing, that I don't want to retire post when my children have left the nest, and I didn't want to retire into an empty nest. So that was a kind of dream or a visual that I had, that I want to spend time with them before they literally flow out of the nest. So I called off my job at 2013. But at the same time, we were a double income family, and supporting a double income family, suddenly one person quitting a job, not done. So what prompted me to quit my job? I actually started my journey 4 years back, working into my passion area of stock markets. So investing in stock markets, learning about stock markets, creating an alternative income stream. That's what I did. So once I did that, the transition became easy for me, that, okay, I could do this. But still, it was a leap of faith. I didn't know whether I would be successful or not. Thankfully, I was successful. I was also a trainer in the stock market area. And I was doing both investing, training, both as a consultant from 2013. And I thought life is all set. Everything is working fine. I'm working lesser number of hours as compared to what I was, and I was earning more, very happy. But the uncertainty never seems to go away. So what happened is, come to 2020, COVID struck. And suddenly all the classroom trainings dried up because there were no more trainings happening. I was doing my investments, and all of you know what, I don't know what happened in March 2020. The markets literally crashed. That was another panic attack. And I said, it's time to work on myself. This is the time I need to work on my mindset. Forget what's happening around the world. Forget what changes, because it's going to be a VUCA world. You can't, predict anything. So I decided to work on myself. I did an NLP course, and that was the beginning of understanding my own communication with myself. How do I talk to myself? What about when that negative talk happens? How am I supposed to change it? I did a small course in emotional intelligence. Then I understood my emotions, especially in the markets when I sit, what emotions, how they strike me, how they hit me, even before I know that they've hit me, and I take actions. And then I said, if I can learn these things and apply myself, and I can improve my performances, why not help others? And that's the journey brought me to, okay, why not ICF? Because that's a recognized body. They have a method, and that's recognized worldwide. So I started my searching for which training institute, and I did my due diligence and landed up at Kocharya. The only reason being, Kocharya integrates the East-West philosophy, which so resonates with me, because as I said, when I was at crossroads, maybe it was a line from Gita, maybe it was a book from Swami Shivananda, which I had read accidentally, that showed me the directions. And I said, there's something in here. And when I heard that Kocharya is doing this, I said, this is the place that I want to be. And I chose ontology because I had an earlier stint with ontology through landmark education. And I loved that concept of human being. And I completed my course. I also did this group coaching. Again, going back, connecting it to my life, saying that I've handled teams and I know how teams suffer, because when I've handled large teams of 200 insurance advisors and how to motivate them, how to inspire them. I didn't know about coaching that time, but motivating, inspiring was what I was doing. And I said, oh, wow, if I can coach groups, that would be great. So that's how my journey has been. And I set my sight on PCC, not ACC. And luckily it happened by November 21. And now here I am giving back to the society what I have learned. And the first group coaching that I designed was for stock market traders, saying trading mindset, how important it is. So I designed an 8-week, 2 hours program, and I've delivered a project which has been appreciated. So I feel happy that, whatever my experiences are, I'm able to relate it to coaching and I'm able to give back to the society. And that's what uh, gives me the happiness whenever I share. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Shyamala. I can feel your happiness as you talk about this. I'm sure everyone else can too. It's so clear that you feel proud of the choices you've made, and you are where you want to be. And sure, there's a path ahead. There's always room to grow and learn and improve, which seems like you're on that path too. That's thank you for sharing your story. There are a few threads that I picked up on that I would love to chase up with you. Uncertainty is such a relatable thing for all of us now, like after COVID, especially, I think prior to that, still people used to have 5-year plans and travel plans in the next 6 months and things like that. And now everything is up in the air, even small things like that used to make us feel good. And actually, I would love to also ask everyone in the chat, like, are you in the process of making a decision right now? Are you looking to gain some courage right now for a decision that you have to make? Are you at a crossroads right now? You can just say yes, or you can share what it is that you're going through. We'd love to hear from you, and maybe you can support each other and talk to each other about it. I think it would be a fantastic discussion. I'm seeing some yeses coming in. Yeah, I think we all are always, I know that all the beautiful people in this community, we're always striving to grow and be the best versions of ourselves, just like coaching is, bringing out the best version of other people and bringing out the potential of other people. And we're always trying to do that with ourselves as well. So beautiful. I'm getting goosebumps seeing the responses. A lot of yeses, a lot of smiles. A lot.
I see Paula there. Yeah.
Always is correct, Wanda. Yes, Wanda, that's right. We're always trying to improve. Sue says, I need to put myself out there, and fear definitely holds me back. Paula says, I had the good fortune to have Shyamala in my cohort. Oh, yay.
Yeah, we had a great
That's awesome. Nolene said, Nolwyn, I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Definitely, we need courage to step up and take a next step in our practice, in my practice. Yes, you want to take the next step in your practice. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think we're all, looking for ways to expand ourselves, looking to be better in the pursuits that we have, in the career that we have, in the relationships that we have. And fear is something that holds us back. And a lot of people are saying in the chat that courage is something that they would like to build, they would like to develop. What is the starting point? When is it important to have courage? What are the prerequisites? Like first, I would imagine, just off the top of my head, it sounds to me like courage comes in when there is fear, like they have to coexist. Right? Shyamala, I'd love for you to talk me through like uncertainty, fear, courage, and the relationship between these.
Yeah. Thanks, Neha. I would relate it to my so-called corporate experience and my personal life experience.
Let's do it.
Every small decision, I mean, it may look small, like it could be a change of geographical location, that would inculcate fear, that how do I do this? It could be just moving up the ladder and suddenly fear comes up. Okay, how am I going to manage such a big team? A new big team given up. It could be a change of department that comes up, and then there is fear. It sometimes when you want to quit one job and explore a new option, there could be fear. So what is this fear all about? I mean, I could relate it to, what Napoleon Hill said. There are 7 fears, the fear of poverty, that losing money. So a lot of people who are in the corporate race, they don't want to quit their jobs, even if the going is bad. They don't want to change because of the fear of letting go of the money. Then fear of criticism. What will people say? If I do this, what will people say? Obviously the fear of ill health, fear of old age, fear of death, one of the biggest fears, and fear of losing love. Sometimes we so hold on to our images that we have, be it a corporate identity or be any other identity. We're so fearful of letting it go, so that, what will happen if I leave this position? People may not love me, people may not respect me. So a lot of fears. And off late, I mean, this is not there in Napoleon Hill's book, but I would love to add is FOMO, the fear of missing out. That's the biggest fear this generation is going through. Technology has enabled, us to be at so many places at the same time. We can do whatever we want. And so this fear of missing out also comes up. And every fear needs to be tackled at some level for you to take the next step. Otherwise, it's impossible. So I teach financial freedom because that's what I did for myself before I quit my job, because creating that financial income or that stream of income, so that the family doesn't get disturbed because of my need to, quit the job and do something on my own. So that fear of poverty was not there. Obviously, that if I quit, if I don't have income, what will I do? So work on that. If fear of criticism comes up, look back and say, are you here to please the world, or are you here to please yourself? I remember when I quit my job, my kids had already grown up to the teenage stage. And when I told the family that I want to take call off the job, first thing they said was, why are you quitting now? You were not there when we were young. And why are you quitting now? So that was the time I told them that maybe I'm not quitting for you, I'm quitting for myself. There's so much fear that we keep living our life for others. We don't live for ourselves. And there are certain times that we need to acknowledge that we need to also live for ourselves. So, and that requires a lot of courage, because it's not easy. So I also like to, take workshops for women on financial well-being, because I feel a lot of working women need to take care of their finances so that they are in a position that they acquire the freedom that they want on the job and outside the job as well.
So you often encounter people in these situations, then one would imagine.
Lot.
What's coming up in the participants as well? Now we have 118 people listening, no pressure, but on you or me, and Wanda says FOMO is huge, fear of missing out. Shilpa says there's a fear of abandonment. Srinivasan has mentioned this fear of rejection, fear of failure.
Yes.
So, when contending with all these different varieties of fear, like you mentioned, quitting a job, it's such a huge thing. So many varieties of fears that are playing into this. I think all of these fears could play into that, right?
Absolutely. It's a culmination of
rejection, failure, everything could come up for us. So please go ahead.
Yeah. So that's the place where coaching plays a role, I guess, because when your coachee is going through any of these fears, it's for us to understand which is the fear that he or she is going through and help them, navigate through that fear. So it's not they say courage is not the absence of fear, but being aware and still walking forward. That's what courage is all about. You know?
Beautiful. Yeah. So, Shyamala, then how do we start to, we're not talking about clients today, right? We're talking about ourselves. How do we coach ourselves through a fearful situation or through a situation that evokes fear for us? I'm happy to have you open-endedly answer that. And I can also share perhaps a fear that is coming up for me personally, so that we can talk about it a little bit in real time.
Yeah. So you want to go ahead, Neha, share your fear?
Okay, sure. let's get a little vulnerable, everyone. Please allow me to do this. Well, one of the things that's been coming up for me lately is having difficult conversations. This is not a huge leap that I'm going to take in my life, or at the moment I don't have any area where I'm going to make a drastic change at this moment, at least. You never know what will happen tomorrow, but this moment there isn't something so big, but what feels big to me right now is having difficult conversations with people, telling people about my needs, particularly in like close friendships, intimate relationships. I'm currently dating as well, so in those situations there's some pressure that I feel to be lighthearted and go with the flow. And I am generally, I think, a lighthearted, fun-loving person. But when it comes to communicating what my needs are, I often tend to hesitate. I often tend to actually be scared. And I end up not saying anything, and then I end up not feeling great about it either. So that's my
so what could be the real fear out there?
I think a lot of the fears listed here are relevant. There is the fear of abandonment for sure. There's the fear of rejection. And it's the fear of loss of love, as you said. There's that fear going in. That they may go back and say, oh, you're too needy, or you're too whatever it is. Of course, one of the things that I shared earlier this year when we did a webinar in the first week of January about New Year's resolutions, and I had at the end, Cindy was kind enough to ask me what my resolution was. And my resolution was one of the resolutions that I had was to be open to all possibilities and potential. Which is something that I keep reminding myself. I have different ways that I'm being reminded of that. I have friends who are holding me accountable to it. Whenever I'm in a negative spiral, they remind me of this. I have an app that sends me a message randomly. I have Post-it notes here and there, because I've always been this person who's like, oh, what's the worst case scenario? What's the worst that can happen? And then I kind of act based on fear rather than based on being neutral even, it's all these fears, to answer your question in a very
I know that all of us go through that, and it's not that it doesn't come up. One way of looking at it, which I know you asked me how I do it, so I'm putting the same question to you. How much of this fear is fact and how much of it is perception? Can you differentiate what is a fact, what is a perception?
Look, I know, Shyamala, I know you can differentiate. I'm sure the audience can differentiate, and I can differentiate in this moment right now. But when I'm in that moment, very hard for me to differentiate.
Yeah. So in that moment, it's just to remind yourself of this, that is this a fact or is this my perception? And fact is something which can be collaborated and said, okay, this has happened, okay. And perception is something which has never happened, but it's there in your mind. And if you can differentiate the two, you can just take that one small step forward.
Is it just that simple?
It's if nothing is simple, but even doing this is a first step towards, acknowledging. You are acknowledging that this is a fear. You're acknowledging and differentiating the fact and the perception between the two, and that gives you that ability to move forward. And one step at a time. You don't have to jump. You can take small baby steps and move forward.
How do I break down something that feels so consequential, right? So for example, even in your example, it was like, you quit your job and change your career. How do you make that into a baby step? Like, to me, talking to somebody about what I need feels like either you talk about it or you don't talk about it. How do you take a baby step towards doing that?
So first, as you say that, okay, the fact that he will feel like this, that that lack of self-love or whatever that's coming up, he said, is this the truth? And make an attempt once and say that, okay, when I do this, what happens? So there are small exercises. Most of the time you're so afraid of asking for help, but if you just do that exercise of going and talking to 5 people and say, I need money, and see what happens. So courage is, as I said, despite that fear, you still take that action. We are fearful of taking action. Action actually moves you forward.
Even thinking about that moment and imagining myself doing that, I feel like my chest tighten up. My hands are getting cold, like I'm trying to,
That's a physical
warm them up
emotion.
under
Yeah.
the desk. It's quite a triggering situation to be in. Somebody said in the chat, Aishling, I think, I'm sorry if I again pronunciations here, about fact and perception. Like, that question is great. That is a beautiful question, Shyamala. And she says that switches on the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
On.
Yeah, because fact is like that logical things you're coming to, and then separating the two, sometimes it gets all merged together.
Even right now, as we speak, it's merged together for me. So I want to know right now, my prefrontal cortex is maybe switching on a little bit because we are talking about it. I'm not in that situation. I'm in a relatively safe environment, but something in me feels fearful still.
Yeah. So another way to look at it is from the emotion perspective. When you feel fearful, how does it show up in your body? And be aware of that. As you said, the breathing, the body temperature, sometimes it's sweating, whatever is coming up, try and labeling the emotions. That also disconnects you from the emotion. Oh, I'm feeling angry now. I think I'm very angry now. Even the labeling factor puts you away from that. And then you need to take action. So action is so important. The moment you realize it, the next step is a small action. I'm not saying take that big action, small action to move forward. Okay, can I ask for an appointment with that person if that's what's stopping you? Having taken that appointment, you'll move forward. But if you don't, then that moment is lost.
Okay. So it's all about taking action. And you're telling me what I should do right now is like have an appointment, set an appointment with
whoever with that,
like
that conversation. Yeah, conversation.
Hey, we need to talk.
Yeah, we need to talk. Why not?
The dreaded we need to talk is
Yes,
coming up
yes.
for somebody.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are multiple situations, because if it's happening with one person, if one person is triggering me in this way, it's happening in other places too, in other areas too. I'm so lucky that I do have certain relationships and friendships where I can practice, being open and talking honestly. Like even right now, I feel, like you are holding the space for me, and everyone else who is here, thank you for holding the space for me, whether it was against your will or not. So I feel like I can do that when I feel safe, but there are times when I don't feel safe, right? Which is where this fear is coming up. So when I'm not feeling safe and this fear is coming up, what are some things that I can do in that moment? Because I will make that appointment. I will go and have that conversation. But in that moment, what can I do to make myself calm down a bit?
See, all these fears that I said, you just have to go back to the root cause. There are some things that you can take, like fear of, let's say, COVID has brought about so many fears, I mean, I'll share here something, which I don't think I've shared with many people. Yeah. When I decided to do the Kocharya course, okay, I said, okay, I'm going in for such a big course. And that was the time COVID has just started. This was August 2020. And I was having a discussion with my son. And I said, it's so scary that outside people are dying, we don't know. I said, I don't even know whether I'm going to live through this COVID thing. And I'm taking on such a big course, and making a huge investment upfront. And I remember what he said. So what? What if you survive for the next 20 years? And that was a beautiful switch of perception. That on one hand, fear was coming because of immediate death. I could, what was going on in the surroundings. And that one sentence of somebody switched the perception, say, what if I survive and I live for another 20 years? Do I really want to? I said, of course I want to do this. So that shift of the talk that you are doing internally, that's so critical. So it's one is being aware, the one is getting, and sometimes you may not be able to do it yourself, and that's why coaches are there for,
Yeah, but like I said, in that moment, so I've talked about this with you, and I actually did speak about this.
Yeah, as Ling says, false expectation or anticipated reality is fear.
Oh God, that's so that's so appropriate.
Yeah, somebody said that, it's appearing real. It's not there. It's not the truth, but it appears real. Yeah, Panda is also true. Shift the inner dialogue. It's all about the inner dialogue that we have with ourselves.
I'm just looking at the chat as well. And Jen says, it's just a part of you, not you per se. Get grounded in your body and somatic exercises. That's a great option as well, to like just become aware of the body and engage in some somatic exercises. It can be fearful to feel your feelings. Jen, you're right. It can be fearful to feel your feelings, especially when the feeling is fear itself. Shilpa says, sit and feel emotions in solitude. Yeah, I'm not sure. Shyamala, I'd love to hear your take on this.
What does she say?
What's needed is to sit in solitude with your emotions. Like, in terms of processing one's emotions, like say this, for me in this particular case, I can relate to the fear coming up. How helpful is it to sit with it, and at what point am I dwelling on it? And, like you're saying about taking action. So between taking action and being aware, like what's the...
The being with yourself. See, nobody understands your emotions better than you. I mean, that's you have to understand that an external person has to ask questions for you to, so that solitude, that meditation definitely helps because it grounds you, it brings you back, it brings the calm, and then you can move into action. It definitely helps. And also that, how much you look within. A lot of times we are looking for solutions outside in the world. Our attention is not within ourselves, but our attention is on the outside world, the other person, the situation. How many times or how much time do we spend looking within?
Yeah, I think I would love to understand that better. Because again, like in this case, sure, the fear is in my head, but the fear is all a projection, right? It's a projection of what could possibly happen, or the worst case scenario that could
know the solutions, having a sort of guarantee in life. I think that's what makes us fearful, saying that, okay, I don't know, so what if you don't know? What if it's better than what you expected? And so many startups have been successful, and I'm sure all of them started with that fear of moving into the unknown.
Yeah.
So as long as you look for guarantees from circumstances, from people, from outside, there's going to be fear. You have to have that belief that, whatever, it may not turn up, but what if a startup fails? You learn something and then you move forward into another one. That experience is what you have gained. So I feel whenever people are fearful, it's more because they want guarantees. And then there are lives that are no guarantees. I mean, I feel the current situation has literally told us that there is no guarantee of jobs. There is no. I keep telling my children also, the only guarantee, the best investment you can make is in yourself. I have done it. I mean, at this age also, I'm a learner, and I continue to learn for as long as I'm alive. So that skills that we learn, the new things that we learn, that's the biggest investment against anything that can go wrong. So I also take lessons on financial freedom, and I tell people have multiple streams of income. If you're dependent on one job, that's going to make you fearful, because what if I get laid off? What if I don't get promotion? Everything is attached to that one job, and you have no control. You are not the one who's running the company. You're not the one who's assessing. You have no control. You may do extremely well. I have faced circumstances in my life where I have done extremely well. I mean, I have proved it, and I have not got the next promotion, which I thought I should get it, and I've not got it. And the reasons given were very stupid. So that you are a lady, you'll not be able to take on the RM position, which anyway, I don't believe that. But yeah, so when we are looking for guarantees in life, that's when we are fearful. When we are confident of ourselves, invest in yourself, invest in your skills, invest in your learning. I mean, start creating multiple streams of income if you're fearful of losing a job or something like that. Relationships, you get hooked on to one person in your life, and that, what if that person leaves me? Have multiple relationships. I'm not saying the wrong way, but the right way. Your parents, your children, your support, there are people to support you when you require.
That's a great point, Shyamala. It's kind of like a diversification of your portfolio, like when you're just trying to make sure that you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And something I also noticed as I've been thinking about this particular predicament, it's such a like first world problem to have, but it feels real to me. It feels important and big to me. Even as I've been thinking about it, I've been thinking about how, I do have great safe spaces where I can talk openly about things. I do have places where I can express myself honestly, and I'm received so beautifully. I'm listened to, I'm heard, people hold space. And maybe like looking for that everywhere or looking for that in every environment is not is not the way to go.
Absolutely. And I loved what Paula has written, because I've seen Paula's journey, and she's written, it helped me to have courage when I stopped looking ahead and trying to predict the future. I decided to only predict the next step. So that's what is in your hand, to take the next step. And you have control on that, and then when that step is, see, how do you climb a ladder? One at a time, you don't jump to the top,
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. That's really helpful. That's very well said. Yeah, thank you for picking that up, Shyamala. It's great.
Oh, Paula has had an amazing journey during this.
Great. You mentioned at one point about motivational thinking, motivation. Like, what is the difference between motivational thinking and coaching? And maybe we can start there.
See, I, as an, branch head, as a regional manager, I used to handle teams under me. And we used to motivate them for achieving the targets. And every time I've delivered on targets. So I think I was a good motivator, But the whole thing is that motivation is very transient. It's there for some time because it's given externally. You're telling them of, either monetary or some, things that they can achieve through that. Whereas coaching is very internal. It's an internal change. It's more of a permanent change. So I'm also a trainer, so I've done sales skills training and all. So I know that it's very transitional, motivational, and those, pep talks are very transitional. So I would give an example of an egg. You know, if you break an egg from the outside, what happens?
It kind of spills everywhere, I guess.
No, so I'm saying if there's a chick inside and you break it, it will die.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the process of that chick, fighting and then cracking that egg and coming out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that's what coaching does. There's a struggle. The coachee will struggle, but then they'll come out with a more, much better form. Whereas motivational is trying to, hit somebody and say, okay, you can do this, you can do this. So I think if you look at Maslow's hierarchy, motivation acts at the self-esteem level, and coaching goes to a slightly higher level of maybe actualization. They really understand their purpose. Why are they doing it?
Yeah, that's a great distinction. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. Vinita says what coaching does is nudge and nurture that resilience in us.
Yes, yes. Beautiful, Vinita.
Yeah, I also really like the metaphor that you used. So when one is in that situation, again, I'm coming back to that because I still feel like we can like maybe have a practical approach to these kinds of situations. Here is coming up for me. What do I do next? I've so far, let me just recap. We have like checking in with your own body. Asking,
labeling it, because when you label something, you are creating a distance between you and that. Look, if I know that I'm angry, we don't even realize when we are angry, when we are fearful. So being quiet and labeling that emotion. Okay, I'm being fearful. And then comes the question, what are you fearful about? Is it a fact? Is it the truth, or is it a perception?
Yeah.
If it's not a truth, it's a perception, then I can take the next step forward,
Shilpa says also to view it as a third person. So when we label, are you saying label the emotion?
Label the emotion. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, okay. So label
I'm being fearful. I'm being, angry, or I'm upset. That's good.
Vinita says we need to be wise about labeling. I'd love to know, Vinita, what you mean by that. Talk a little bit more about. Vinita also says labeling is also a dangerous side of us. So how can labeling be dangerous? And what is that? What does that look like?
Labeling, I'm not saying that, realizing what you're going through, not that you have to give it. It could be, okay, I'm not feeling comfortable, or something is, you don't even have to get it right, but then being aware of what's going on. See, I don't know, so many times we are not even aware of our own body sensations.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where this amygdala hijack happens. It happens so fast that, you don't even realize it, So what is happening? My tone is going up, even if you don't label, what am I doing? Oh, my hands are sweaty. So how does it show up for you? For each person, it could show up in a different way. That's being aware.
Being objectively aware of what's actually going on.
What Vinita says is labeling can take us towards a negative perception about us. It's not us. We are not saying I am, so and so. So, okay, you have to label it saying that I am feeling anger. It's not that I am angry. The moment you resonate with anger, it's like the two together. You have to separate it.
That's beautiful. Yeah. So kind of externalizing it a little bit.
Externalizing it. Yeah.
Like viewing it as a third person, as someone
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just like get a little distance from what's going on so that the prefrontal cortex can kick in, as someone had mentioned previously. I think that's fantastic. That's number one. what next?
And then once you are aware of it, then you look at the thought behind it. There has to be, the emotion has come up because of some thought. Thoughts, beliefs, it could be any of that. If you could identify that, why am I feeling this way? What is important to me at this point? No, it could be because of your values. What's coming in the way?
In this case, it's like experiences, but like
past experience or memories. So that's what's coming in the way. Oh, earlier when I did this happened.
Yeah.
But is it the same person? Is it the same, location? Is it the same circumstances? Everything could be different.
Those are great questions as well. That's a great line of questioning. Is it the same? Is it the same person, circumstances, situation? So
we do imprint. I mean, we carry things back from, that's the baggage. You need to also drop baggages at times.
Yeah. But then, there's, how do I know the difference between like, this is a baggage and this is, a pattern that I've seen, like.
Pattern is also coming from there. It's the same thing. One thing happened that becomes you next. You don't see, again, don't go by when I say label and all, don't be so, what's happening? Is it coming from there? Is it coming from this place? That's it. And the intention has to be to move forward. If there is no intention to move forward, you will not take any of this action. So there has to be a big why you want to move, that action to happen. Yeah. So what's the big why? Unless there's the significance, you'll be happy to analyze and not do anything about it.
Yeah. That's a great point. I think that's what's happening here as well. Like the why is not strong enough.
Yeah.
Why isn't big enough. And not consequential enough for me to maybe, act, act.
Yeah, absolutely. See, I don't know, I mean, whether this is relevant in this. It's that small vision or that small why that we have for ourselves, which moves us forward. I remember this, as I told you, that I didn't want to retire into an empty nest. It's a simple one-liner that, okay, what will I do when my kids are not there and I'll be sitting at home, That one-liner said made me quit my job early. And I remember one day it was a beautiful rain happening outside the office premises, and we had glass, the whole building was glass and we couldn't open the glass. And I looked out and I said, wow, it would be so wonderful to have an office where I can open the glass and I can feel the, plants outside. That's what I want for myself. And believe me, today I have it outside my room. I love the rains. I can open it. So it's that small why which pushes you towards your dreams. And if that's not strong enough, you'll not take action. I mean, so many people would have seen the rain and said, okay, fine, so what? Let's get busy with the work. But that stuck in me, saying that, I would love to have an office where I can open the windows at my choice, and like I don't have to be, it doesn't have to be this kind of buildings. So I feel the why is so important. It's really important. It could be a small thing for you, but that vision that will move you forward.
That's so beautiful. And that is an insight that I had not had yet, that having a why as an important stepping stone to overcoming fear and to cultivating courage. If you don't have a why, then
you'll not
interacting.
Yeah, there's nothing to move you forward.
Get out of your comfort zone. So how in that situation do we cultivate a why? Or is it something that is inherent, that is already in us? Like you had this vision of having the plants in the rain and things like that, and you made it happen. There are certain visions that I'm working on as well. I'm learning. I do play. I should say I play the piano, and I'm learning learning certain pieces on the piano, which I thought were completely audacious because I have never had any formal training. And these classical pieces are, they require this technique and that technique and this and that. And, like, oh, I've had teachers in the past say, oh, you need to do like 6 years of piano playing before you can play that piece. And I'm trying to play it anyway. I'm learning to play it because I have a vision in my mind.
So what's that vision?
Of me beautifully playing the song seamlessly and just feeling it. And I don't need an audience, honestly, for that. I just want to play it for myself. I just want to play it. And
how would you feel when you have done that?
I would feel amazing. You can probably hear it in my voice. Like,
yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, so that's
I learned to play the first. At this point, I'm 1 minute 5 seconds into the song. I can play the first 1 minute 5 seconds, and believe you me, when I got the first 30-second sequence in the song, when I got it down perfectly with all the practice and consistency and patience, I had tears in my eyes just from playing the first 30 seconds of the song. And every time I practice it, every time I go back to, like, it just drives like the self-perpetuating beautiful thing that even though it used to be really scary for me to even think about playing that, now I bounce to the piano every morning, to play for
that vision is propelling you forward. It's not making despite what people are saying, you're not fearful. Moving forward.
Jen says, I hear a jingle and happiness in your voice when you speak of playing piano. Or why? Yep.
That's your passion, which is moving you forward.
Sunita, I guess there has been some miscommunication and we're not able to put the dots together for you specifically. But here we are talking about cultivating courage in the face of fear. And we've covered quite a few topics so far in terms of what one can do when one is feeling courage and how can one cultivate fear. And just to recap, Shyamala, since we are getting towards the end of the hour, just to recap what I've learned so far, and please, everyone who is here, feel free to, drop in what you've learned in the comment box. That would be amazing. So far, we've learned that fear is a natural part of moving forward and growing. Fear comes up for all of us constantly because we are making new decisions. We're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. And cultivating courage. Courage is acting in spite of fear. Courage is in the absence of fear. We've learned that much. We've learned that when we are in a situation of fear, it's important to become aware of what's going on within us, how we are feeling in the body, to maybe label how we're feeling objectively, non-violently, and to get ourselves a little bit out of the situation, stop identifying with whatever we are feeling in that moment. And then coming to, yes, Pavan, thank you for that. Pavan says, check whether is it fact or is it perception? Is it fact or is it fiction? The thought that we are thinking, the thought that is driving that fear. What is that thought? Is it fact or is it perception? Very, very important. I think this resonated with a lot of people. And then to go back to our why. Why do we want to do this thing that is making us fearful? Yeah. So Sunita, I hope that helps. You get a little bit of depth on the topic, but if you have any more questions, please feel to drop them. In the chat.
Yeah, if somebody else wants to share something they have, that's also fine.
Vinita is asking, fear isn't bad either, right? Shyamala, I'd love for you to take that.
No, I don't think it's bad. It's, it keeps us safe, I would say. If fear wasn't there, we would all be so risky, we would all take. So I don't think it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I think fear is something that protects us, right? Fear is a natural response. Yeah. And it's built into us to protect us. It is there to keep us safe. It is there to help us survive. If we didn't have fear, we probably wouldn't have been alive right now.
Yeah, right.
One of our ancestors, if they didn't have fear, we wouldn't be alive right now. They probably helped them to get away from difficult situations or life-threatening situations. So yeah, a lot of comments are coming in. I'm just going to read some of them out loud. Fear can protect us. That's right. Pawan is saying, and to think about what will happen when I overcome the fear. Deep says it's not bad as, sorry, Deepa. Deepa says it's not bad. Fear is not bad as long as it's not holding us back. That's right. Aishling says, use stress is good stress. Challenge plus skill plus confidence.
Distress, yeah.
That's a great point that you brought up. Use stress. Use stress, I think the EU prefix comes from the same prefix as euphoria, the good type of stress. And we do need a little bit of stress in order to grow and in order to challenge ourselves. It's fantastic. Sue says we are wired to keep ourselves safe but not fulfilled. Beautiful observation. Yeah. And even if there's a slight hint of unsafety, we start moving towards fear, which holds us back from fulfillment. And so I think we all need to, maybe have I know this is what I'm walking away with from today's session. It's like having a protocol. The things that we just talked about, right? Having the check-in with yourself, getting yourself out of the situation a little bit in your head, asking yourself why. And then, Shyamala, as you so beautifully said, taking action. Taking action is a thing that's going to help us overcome it eventually. So if we are cultivating courage, we don't need to cultivate it for days or weeks or months. We just need to take action, and then we won't.
Yeah, and if you're getting stopped, check the why. That's so important.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you, Shyamala. If there are any questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll just be another minute and then we'll log off. But in the meantime,
Venkateshwaran has written a beautiful thing. Mark Twain said, I have spent most of my life worrying about things that have never happened. So true.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with that, Venkateshwaran. Wanda says my mom.
Sure.
Yeah, I think, it's important to bring that up as well, that, like generationally, we're also kind of hardwired to experience things or go through life in a way which is similar to what we've seen and what has been modeled for us, either by parents or caretakers and so on.
But I think the new generation is different. They're much more fearless than as compared to, I think, the older ones.
Yeah, I think that's needed, right? With every generation, we need to grow and improve and evolve. So I think this is perhaps one of those ways that we're learning to do that. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining us. We're getting
Thanks a lot for joining.
Beautiful thank yous in the comments.
Thanks,
really appreciate all of you. Raju says this was a completely mesmerizing session. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Hussein, Devendra, Wanda, Sue, Aishling, all of you who just held this space even for me to open up. Thank you so much for that.
It was beautiful, Neha.
Thank you, Shyamala, for agreeing to do this, for being so generous with your time and energy, and for holding the space for all of us. And really appreciate you.
Thank you. It was really good. My pleasure that I could share with all of you. Thanks. And there's so many takeaways from the group as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for all your contributions.
Yeah.
Have a beautiful evening.
Okay. Bye. Good night.
Wherever you are. Okay. Bye.